I-17. Now we'll have to start all over again. You look at a project like I-17 that we all have experienced the pain of this for many, many years. But believe it or not, it was this board that actually formally started the conversations to see that road improved. It's not that it wasn't on anyone's radar, it was. We've all experienced crashes and shutdowns of I-17, but it started about 10 years ago with this board supervisor, at that time, Councilmember Mallory, Councilmember Kuknio from the city of Prescott, Supervisor Brown. It was this board that really came together and said, what are we going to do about this problem that's not only impacting the central Yavapai region, but that's impacting the entire state of Arizona? So a formal resolution was passed by this board, and then members that I just mentioned and others went down to ADOT and said, this is a much needed project. This has to get done. So many years of campaigning, many years of coming together, and Anthony will give us an update towards the end of the meeting, but that project, as we're aware, is finally moving forward. On I-17 and Highway 69, same thing on that one. So both those projects were, again, through leadership. The last thing I'll close on is, this was another thing that Supervisor Brown, and I think on his end of his service to CYMPO, we are seeing the tangible results. I just mentioned the hub, but one of those visions of leadership is, again, how do we work together? How do we not operate in silos, all doing the same thing, but serving the same people? He has been a champion to Yavapai Regional Transit, and I see Tom in the back row there, previously to Ron and Sherry Romley. And Supervisor Brown has really pushed us as a staff of how do we get all these systems to work together. The Yavapai Apache Tribe in the Verde Valley, Yavapai Regional Transit, and now Yavaline. And I do think the hub is really that vision of the region coming together, working together, and serving the greater good. So thank you for letting me take a moment, Mr. Chair, and we'll embarrass you a little bit more with recognition in a few weeks. But I just want to say on behalf of staff, we thank you for your legacy, your support, and your leadership. And I'm happy to take any questions or comments at this time.
Was not really prepared for this, but thank you very much. But there's a lot of people involved always in these types of programs and things that we try to push forward. It involves being a team, and teamwork is exceptionally stellar when you come to this group of people. We've accomplished so much, even though if we had more money, we could accomplish more. But we had hands-free driving. That Chris was a big part of that when he did the commercials for TV. And hands-free driving, we pushed that all the way down to the legislature, and actually finally got a law that we could all live with on hands-free driving. But we started the rumble. So anyway, I'm very proud of that one as well. But thank you. I appreciate it very much. And it's been a great time, a lot of fun. So anyway, anything else from the board? No? Moving on to Rural Transportation Advocacy Council. And guess who's here? Kevin Adams. Hi, Kevin. Good to see you in person.
On. There we go. I think that's better. And yeah, I don't think we'll have as many technical difficulties if I'm here in person. So we got that squared away. And I will say, time flies. It seems like it was just yesterday. We were having the same comments about Supervisor Springer. I think she was sitting in the chair Vinny was in and giving her the accolades, and you're well deserving of that as well. I appreciate working with you, getting to know you, and everything that you've done. There were some times when you were on the RTAC board, but even when you weren't, there was no question that you were incredibly vocal and really pushed for investment in the infrastructure and defended your region and advocated for them very well. So I appreciated getting to know you and the time that and dedication that you put into fighting for the infrastructure.
Went by pretty quickly.
Unbelievably quick.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. And with that, we are anxiously awaiting the summit program as well. I think it'll be a tremendous vehicle for advocating for the infrastructure going forward. As we look into next year, um, boy, we don't know what November is going to bring with the election. I think, as everybody knows, all 90 legislative seats are up for election. You never know how things are going to change, particularly when that partisan split is so close, and would literally just take a change of one seat to change the control of the body. And then on top of that, you've got individual members who we know for a fact that we're going to have a new Speaker of the House. We also know we're going to have a new chairman of the House Transportation Committee. So a lot of changes to be expected for the upcoming year. Another area that I think is going to be huge, and one that is right now is a real positive, and that's the revenue outlook. We know that last year the legislature had to address a deficit, plus they were anticipating a structural one for this current year. So when they set the budget back in June, there was about 1.3 billion in adjustments that they had to make in order to pass a balanced budget for this current year. And we weren't unscathed. There was about 300 million that they had previously appropriated for infrastructure projects and activity across the state that they took back in order to help balance it. This year, fortunately, since they passed that budget on June 15th, literally about 4 days later, the revenue numbers came out for May, and they were about $250 million above what they were expecting. The June numbers did just as well, to where we closed out the last fiscal year about 410 million in the black. And since then, we've seen the numbers for July and August, and they continue to be considerably well above what was anticipated. So, here we are about 3 months into the current fiscal year, and we're already $500 million above where we were anticipated to be. So that's a far better place to be than trying to address a deficit and being on the defensive and trying to prevent them from taking from transportation. We've got the opposite, where we will be advancing our priority project legislation with the hopes that there'll be that they'll prioritize transportation like they did in the past, and we'll see some funding directed that way. We've also got the Arizona Smart Fund, which helps rural Arizona compete and use federal funding by utilizing this state funding that's available for design and engineering to bring a project up to federal standards, or even to use for the local match requirement. It's been extremely popular. In fact, we're in our third year. And just a week ago at the State Transportation Board meeting, we zeroed out what's available to municipalities over 10,000. And I anticipate that if we continue along the same trend, we will have exhausted everything in that fund probably at some point next year. And so we're very hopeful that if there's available revenues, that we'll be advocating that they direct some additional funding to the Smart Fund. And so I think that those are the big issues. Again, we're $500 million above where we thought we would be, but there's still a lot of the year left, and we don't know what's going to happen with revenue collections going forward, or expenditures for that matter. But as of right now, we're in a pretty good place with revenues. And so with that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Kevin, how do you project why we're so far up? Was it the reduction in our state income tax that generated more investment? How are they analyzing this?
Mr. Chairman, Mayor, that's a very good question. Of course, their projections have been way off now just about every month for years. And so, and I don't want to be overly critical, because, nobody in the country was able to accurately project what was going to happen with budgets and revenues during the COVID era when we were getting all the public, the assistance from the federal government. And then even with that sort of manufactured shutdown of the economy, revenues still grew. Nobody anticipated that, so we weren't the only state. We were the norm as far as not getting the numbers right then. As far as what's happened the last 4 or 5 months, we're seeing growth across the board. So we're looking at individual income tax, corporate income tax, as well as sales tax. They've been down certain months, but the trend for all three has been upward. It was anticipated that with the flattening of the corporate income tax a couple years ago, that there would be an immediate hit and then they would start to grow again. And so I believe that growth is advancing, quicker than what was anticipated. Although I think initially was the opposite. Initially, there was a bigger hit than was expected, but now I think it's rebounded much quicker than what was thought.
Just like Arthur Laffer's curve would indicate, right? Thanks, Kevin.
It's always good news to hear that there's, additional monies on the horizon. However, reaching that horizon has been very difficult at times at best. And so never take it for granted that we're going to have something above what our predictions are. Ours are very conservative, which keeps us pretty much in line. And it's always nice to have a surprise at the end of September.
Absolutely, and I've been the doom and gloom guy for most of my time coming up here. So, yeah, when we've got good news like that, yeah, we got to qualify it and put the caveats on. But we're in a good place,
Better than it could be.
relatively speaking. Yes, sir.
Any other questions or any thoughts in regards to RTAC? And so are we moving forward with CSA and the other groups that we align with, NACOG and so, for the same general idea that we did last year and the year before, listing those items we'd like to see funded?
I've specifically had conversations with the league and CSA, and I'll be at the CSA Legislative Summit. So, yes, there is that level of coordination. I believe there is a resolution that will be considered at CSA as far as increasing transportation revenue. So we'll continue to coordinate, and yeah, obviously we're all working off the same page, the better.
Okay, I don't know if anybody up here remembers when the state came down and swept general funds from the cities and towns. We don't want that to happen again, and that's why we're on Prop 479 now, and drugs.
How are the HERF funds doing?
HERF is, last time I checked, what HERF was, there was growth, but it was slightly under what was anticipated. So it's not going down, but it's kind of anemic.
Well, I know as the more highly efficient technology is incorporated in a lot of the current vehicles, their mileage continues to improve, which means that they buy less gas and they generate less HERF tax into the fund itself.
That has been a continual trend since the last time we increased the gas tax back in '92.
Yeah.
But it just gets a bigger and bigger challenge, or as far as, it continues to whittle away the effectiveness of the fuel taxes.
Right.
Do you feel there's any kind of a caucus that would support that this time?
I think it's probably best to wait to see what happens on November 5th. So I think we're going to obviously need to evaluate what the challenges and opportunities are based on the outcome of that election.
Yeah, most people don't know it, but here in the state of Arizona, we collect about 18 cents per gallon of on fuel sales. That's what we run the entire state, and that's what's called HERF. In our neighboring state to the west, their tax is now at 59 cents per gallon. So think yourself lucky.
And
But
it's,
we have been this way for a long time, and we probably need to have some kind of an adjustment at some point in time. We've made attempts at the licensing and other things, and it just hasn't worked out well. So one of these days, we're going to have to bite the bullet.
I think we'll be having quite a bit of discussion about that up here at the summit.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, you'll talk a little bit more about electric vehicles too, because that's, becoming a large, shall we say, percentage of the population using those types of cars where they don't have to pay any real fees to do it.
This doesn't get much attention, but actually about 4 years ago, we did eliminate some of the breaks on the vehicle license tax so that electric vehicles are paying the same in VLT as other vehicles. That wasn't the case before. But as far as the fuel source goes, no, they're still not being taxed. The one caution I'll put on that, and I think it's important to, before they take off, you want to have, the policy and the tax in place rather than coming in after the fact. But as of right now, there was a bill last year that would have enacted an annual fee for electric vehicles. I want to say, I don't remember exactly the amount. I want to say it's $125, $130 a year. And that would have only generated 9 million. So keep that in mind. It's, I think, important to do, but it's not going to address the it's not the whole answer by a long shot.
No, it's not the whole answer, that's for sure. So anyway, okay, anything else for rural transportation advocacy?
Kevin, thank you, buddy.
Thank you. And thanks again, Craig.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
He really means that too, when you're not looking at the TV.
We've had a lot of battles over the phone and discussions about different things at the legislative level, and we just bang our heads against the wall because it just seems like a fight that never ends. So anyway, we thank you for all you do too, Kevin. Thank you. So, okay, moving up to regional development updates. Michael Lamar, Transit Manager.
Chairman Brown, not to beat a dead horse, but I've enjoyed working with you in both hats you wear. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm going to give a little bit of data regarding the status of the transit system, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Leslie, who's going to talk a little bit about some of our regional partnerships. And in between, I'm going to ask Tom Stoltz from YRT to share some exciting news about a letter of intent Yabeline Systems reached with YRT in terms of connectivity of the two systems. So since its inception, we are approaching 60,000 riders. Basically, inception was 24 months ago. The trend lines look fantastic. Since inception, we've had about 116 rides per day, but the average the past 2 weeks is 180 rides. One thing I'd like to point out is the average rider rating of 4.9 out of 5. We're outpacing Uber, whose averages are 4.7 to 4.8. So it says a lot about the drivers of the system, and we're very excited about that. And also the 1957 cost per ride, that number has been coming down significantly since the system has become more about operations and less about capital purchases. Popular destinations for the city of Prescott, obviously it's the Northern Arizona VA, which we have some Veterans Association representatives here to talk about U.S. vets and some opportunities we see in terms of partnerships with our veteran population. Followed closely by Walmart and Safeway. And for communities that are very dependent on sales tax revenue, getting people from their home to the grocery store to spend money in our jurisdictions is a winner. This is the Prescott Valley. Similar story. Walmart, Fry's, and Safeway are outpacing other destinations and localities. We're very excited about that, both jurisdictions. And this is interesting. This is the trip purposes, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, about the Prescott number and how we can improve as a percentage of that number. 37% of the people in Prescott Valley utilizing the system are using it for employment purposes. So we're getting them to jobs, which I think, again, is very important. And we want to see an increase in that percentage in Prescott. So we are talking to potential partners. Margot Christensen's here, and I didn't see Barry Barb, but we can talk a little bit about the restaurant industry and the hotel industry. Both of their employee pools have transportation issues. So partnering with those entities to get their people to work is a winner. And in terms of regional transit collaboration, as many of you know, Yavapai Apache is now coming over the hill. And we think there are really good opportunities with the hub location that the executive director Gallegos mentioned to get them to meet up with Yavaline and to meet up with Yavapai Regional Transit at that hub location to create system connectivity between the three systems and actually have a regional transit system, maybe for the first time in the history of Yavapai County. Again, I alluded to this a little earlier. Tom Stoltz is here with YRT, and we have entered into a letter of intent with YRT about partnering and connecting the systems, and I thought I'd give him a second to talk about that.
Afternoon, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Craig? Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and staff, we're very proud of what we were able to put together with CYMPO regarding Yavaline for the letter of intent. We plan on doing joint marketing, reaching out. I think the real issue here is to raise public awareness of what we're trying to accomplish, to raise partners to get involved with us, to fund accordingly, both agencies needing funding, additional funding. So we're very proud of it. We issued a letter of intent for not only marketing, but for raising joint awareness, for raising funds together. And I think it's going to be just a great opportunity for all of us. We really look forward to the hub and to being able to have a connection point. That was very exciting to our board of directors. And I think to all of our riders, we can better serve the community as a group and working together than all of us, as Vinny said before, working apart. So YRT is definitely on board. We're ready to go and take a look at what opportunities will rise for us and how we can put this all together to better serve all of our communities. And Chairman Brown, I want to thank you for all you've done.
Back when the Romleys ran it as Chino Valley Transit back in 2011, when I went to the first meeting, didn't have a clue about what was going on. I certainly got an education from the two of them, and I thank them and you as well for everything that, you know.
Well, we can't thank you enough for all that you have done for us, for YRT, and for our community. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Tom.
So as I said, Leslie Contreras, our regional development manager, is going to talk a little bit about some of the outreach we've already done and some of the partnerships we've already established. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Leslie.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brown, board members, Leslie Contreras, Regional Development Manager. I'm just going to give you a quick update of some of the grants that we've been applying for specifically for transit. Last month, we applied for a grant from Common Spirit, also known as Dignity Health. The request was for $100,000. And one of the reasons we applied for this grant was when we met with Dignity Health leadership, we were informed that on average, there was about 1 to 2 patients daily that couldn't be discharged because they did not have transportation. and so they had to stay another night. We believe that if we are awarded this grant, we'll be able to help with that issue, and with that, continue our partnership with Dignity Health to leverage future partnership for greater financial interest. Another important thing to note is we have recently had a great opportunity to partner with a local nonprofit, and we submitted a proposal to them to assist them with transportation needs. We asked for $100,000. We are waiting to see what the response is. We submitted it to their board about 2 weeks ago, and so we're still in that timeframe where we don't know if we got it. We're continuing our conversations with them, and we'll be able to disclose the name of the organization that we're working with and what this partnership may look like at our future board meeting. Any questions on that? Great. We have been strategically engaging key stakeholders from various industries, specifically those that represent crucial businesses in our community and have a vested interest in seeing public transit succeed. As you see, this list might appear that it's very Prescott-centric. However, I did highlight US Vets, Dignity Health, YMCA, and Yavapai College are both Prescott and Prescott Valley. As we continue our efforts, we want to collaborate with both Prescott and Prescott Valley organizations, and we look to strengthen more of the Prescott Valley. One of the reasons that we're really focusing on Prescott right now is because we have momentum. It's a new system for Prescott. We have the mobility hub coming in, and so we want to leverage that and continue the momentum, and we'll continue to do that as well with Prescott Valley. We've just been a little busy with planning the summit and everything, but we'll continue to reach out to Prescott Valley as well to make sure that they're included in all of this. Today, we have some guests joining us from the list, and they're here to give their perspective on why public transit is so crucial to our region and to their respective fields. So first, I'd like to introduce Margot Christensen with Ponderosa Hotel Management, and she'll give you guys a brief conversation of why public transportation matters for the hotel industry.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me speak a little bit. I'm Margot Christensen with Ponderosa Hotel Management, and we've got the Spring Hill Suites downtown and the Residence Inn off Highway 69 by Trader Joe's. We built Spring Hill Suites about 25 years ago and Residence Inn about 15 years ago. And I don't work directly in the day-to-day operations. And so what I wanted to do is gather a few notes from our two general managers. So I just want to read a couple sentences from each of our general managers as to how important transportation is. So first, from Alondra, our general manager at Spring Hill Suites, transportation is one of the biggest hurdles we encounter when searching for employment here in Prescott. Giving the public access to public transportation for employment reasons would be a huge game changer when it comes to our employment pool. By having a steady transportation schedule, this would also eliminate the percentage of call-offs and tardiness, giving us, the employer, a way to work schedules around transportation and giving the employee the resources needed to get to work and back home again. And from Christy, our general manager at Residence Inn, being located in a commercial corridor off Highway 69, having reliable transportation is critical for our workforce and is often the cause of call-offs and tardiness. We have multiple employees at Residence Inn who are dependent on rideshare options such as Uber and Lyft, often causing them 1/3 of their paycheck every single day just to get to work and back. Additionally, we have another employee who lives at Liberty Point at US Vets who is dependent on his electric bicycle to get all the way from the US Vets to Highway 69 and Residence Inn. Having transportation options that coincide with non-traditional business hours of the hospitality and service industry would significantly help with employee hiring and retention. And then I asked our director of sales, who's been with us about 6 years, And she said the same words, this would be a game changer to have transportation to get our employees to and from work. I would go so far as to say, we would make a commitment as a company, depending on costs, to make some sort of a financial contribution to add this to our employee benefit program in the way of a monthly fee or a sponsorship or something. It wouldn't be maybe a permanent transportation benefit, but it would certainly be something that we could consider for 6 months as a employee benefit for retention, or current employees that are having a real struggle trying to get to work and back. This would be huge to be able to offer this to our employees. Amora from CYMPO is in the audience. Amora is an executive for the CYMPO, and I just wanted to introduce her. I think she's on board for considering more discussion on this subject. Yes? Okay. So I just wanted to introduce her. And any comments or questions? I am so happy to talk about this and think about this project going forward. I think it's a great idea to add this for hospitality, restaurant, and other services.
Board?
Mr. Chair, Margot, Tom Armstrong, Chino Valley. It sounds like maybe this would be like an on-call type situation for your employees, or trying to set up a route that might.
I
pick
think
them
it would
up
be a
on-
route, not all of our employees, a lot of our employees need this. They're carpooling, they're doing Ubers, Lyfts, riding bicycles. Some of them we can't even hire because, especially at Residence Inn by Trader Joe's, they can't even consider employment there because they just can't get there. So if there's a possibility of a route for major hotels and restaurants that want to come on board as partners, I would think that that would be a great possibility if there's any, routes that would be available to add on to that. Mhm.
I think, Margot, with the availability of some type of transit for different needs. Now, some you brought up were people that want to get to work. That's a big one. But we also have the people that are staying in these locations that need to we would like them to get into town,
Mhm.
Either in Prescott Valley or to Prescott, obviously. And so there's other things I think we have discussed that we'll be looking at in the future, I hope, into light travel with electric vehicles to move people, say, up the hill from wherever they're staying, so they can get them to the plaza and then let them go from there and then get them back again. Also, there's been discussion about having something to get people from a remote location to go to the airport.
Mhm.
So we relieve the parking issues that become in the airport. So there's a lot of possibilities that we can latch onto, but it's going to take teamwork and
Yeah.
a lot of public support.
Mhm.
And, coming especially from the cities that are involved.
Mhm.
And we also want to extend out a little bit more to the north so that we get at least encompass the entire basin area. So,
Yeah, our hotel guests, they need transportation also. They're, not everybody's renting a car. Uber and Lyft is about the only possibility to get out to the airport. There's no hotel that I'm aware of in town that even has van service transportation to get people downtown or to the airport.
that's why I was thinking the electric vehicle. We tried it at one time, City of Prescott, I believe, where the chamber had one going around that was supported by the Realtors Association. And it worked pretty well for a couple of months in the springtime. But if we could have something that was on a regular schedule, stop by, pick up old folks, take them to where they want to go or in that direction,
Mhm.
and also help the people that are coming to work, then we can have something that's, back and forth if they can get to certain points.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you could add some of the hotels and maybe some of the major restaurants in certain key locations on a regular route, that would be huge for employees and guests and restaurant patrons.
well, if it works for these folks, it's going to work for other folks. I mean, in Dignity alone, how many employees do they have? 2,000, something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of employees and volunteers especially. So,
Any other questions? Thank you so much for being part of this discussion and allowing me to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for your support and joining us also.
All right. Barry Barb, owner of Elgato Azul, was going to be here, but I'll have Michael kind of give you guys an update of the conversations we've been having with him and with the restaurant industry.
Hello again. Barry has been generous enough to offer up on October 26th at Tourmet, his restaurant right over here, an outreach to the restaurateurs in the community. Same concept that Margot is going to do with the hoteliers, that again, he's pulling from a population, he's expressed this to me directly, of people who have transportation issues. So if we can partner with restaurateurs and also the hoteliers, it's kind of a double win for the situation. So he's going to have a lunch meeting with a lot of the restaurateurs. And one thing I would like to open up to the executive board, we're plugged very in right now to Prescott, but Cal, if there's people in these industries in PV that we need to have these conversations with, we'll be glad to go out and have them. Same thing with Tom in the conversation and the partnership we're having with YRT. Tying in the other communities to this whole outreach endeavor is something we really would like to do.
You might take something like special events and also set up an on-call type of system. That would help.
All right. And then we have Brian Campbell with US Vets to talk a little bit about how much their community needs public transportation. So I'll have him come up and say a few words.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brown. Thank you for your commitment to US Vets. I appreciate that. Mayors, thank you as well. I'm coming from a little bit different standpoint as retired Marine and as the executive director for US Vets. We have what's called My Case Record, and a lot of that's data driven. That's kind of where I come from. Right now, we're at 11.3 veterans come into our program a month for our transitional housing program, and we're currently at 94% census. So with that being said, a lot of what we're trying to do is take an individualized housing and employment plan through our case management, our director of behavioral health, all of our programs that we have, and try to realize that addressing the issues of the social determinants of health, what are they? Some of them obviously are food, shelter, employment, and transportation. We also have what's called a You Speak survey. Now that You Speak survey is something that we do annually with the veterans, and we just got done doing one here for September 30th. We should find something here shortly within the next 6 to 8 weeks that's going to give us the overall answers of a lot of those questions. One of those questions is, what are the needs? Transportation always ends up being second to housing and affordability. We also have, with seeing that increase of transportation being a need, I hired a transportation specialist. This past year, as of last week, we did 105 van runs, and that was for 1,367 passengers. So if you look at a lot of the totality of what we have and identifying those social determinants of health, we really got to get them into the public. We got to get them the sustainability, whether it's employment or even just housing, interacting with other veterans and other folks in our community. Our van runs, I mean, just to kind of identify little things that we do. We take around the Quad Cities all the way down to Phoenix. We take brothers and sisters to kidney dialysis, Social Security, to and from work. And one of the big projects that we have right now that I think is also going to add is the 103 permanent housing for senior veterans that's going to open up on our it's our Fort Whipple project on the VA campus. We're looking to break ground here in December. So 14 to 16 months after that, you know, we're going to be housing a lot of veterans it's going to be wonderful that they're going to have the medical needs on the VA campus, but they also need to have the transportation to leave the campus and get into our communities as well. That's a little bit of what I see. I think that the partnership would be fantastic. If we could set up a route that would accommodate, it'd be wonderful. We have tried the other options of buying e-bikes, taxi vouchers. I think one of the biggest things if this commitment that we could get for this transportation system, how it would help us. If you look at after CARES Act ended, we lost 66% of our budget. You know, so being able to recognize that this is definitely a need and to go out and get that transportation specialist This is the data that we have, and with the You Speak surveys that really outline the veterans speaking on behalf of themselves for the needs that we need just at US Vets, I think it would be just a wonderful item that we can add to the veterans' lives that we have. And I'd like to open it up to any questions.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for being here. By the way, I got one quick question I wrote down too. What's the #1 destination for the guys in the US Vets other than the VA?
Veterans that are in our program, permanent housing program, it's employment. It's Walmart, Thrive.
Shopping, okay.
So as you guys can see, there's a lot of social service agencies that have transportation needs, but would rather not be in the transportation field or business. So we're really focused on partnering with them to alleviate that and take that over for them. One last thing to know, through our outreach, we've heard a constant theme that transportation is not a luxury, it's not a convenience, but it's a necessity. The businesses and communities that these stakeholders represent are not just potential users of Yavaline, they are partners in making public transit a success. So CYMPO will continue to meet with these individuals to make sure that we are listening to them, understanding their needs, and tailoring the service to them. And with that, we hope to continue having a sustainable Yavaline system and YRT system. So, any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? No? All right,
Mr. Chairman, I have another question for Michael, if he can come back up.
sure.
Wallapai. Well, that's interesting. I wasn't even aware they were coming in. I don't think it's the former. No, but we'll follow up. Thank you.
That's kind of interesting because just the other day, Michael, I got a call from Hualapai director thanking us for all the work we had done on Route 66. So something is going on here that 12 years, they never returned a phone call. Now they're calling us.
Well, that's encouraging. I appreciate that. We'll
It
look
is.
into that. Thank you, Chair.
Stotler.
Chairman Brown, members of the board, thank you. Continuing with our regional development updates, I wanted to speak a little bit about a Safe Streets for All application that we've submitted. But before I do that, let's go back in time a little bit. Last winter, you'll recall that we concluded our regional transportation safety plan. That's a 5-year backward look at all of the serious injury and fatality crashes that have happened in our region. And there are far too many of them, frankly. So we're working hard to make sure that we are making progress towards a Vision Zero goal, which we have adopted by extension. It's ADOT's primary goal in their safety plan. With that, we would also look back to the RTP, the 2045 RTP, where priority projects were identified. And a few of those, one being a regional bike ped plan we've started, another being the next step in the Sundog connector planning process, the DCR, dare I mention it, but we did that. And an additional priority that was identified through the 2045 RTP was the need for a downtown Prescott traffic study, a downtown analysis. And some of the things that might be included in that are traffic movements, of course, bike and pedestrian movements, walkability of the downtown area and how people on foot can enjoy downtown without conflicts with vehicles. Safety, of course, because there are conflicts with vehicles in the downtown area. It's heavily populated. Economic development, how any of the transportation activities in the downtown are continuing to support the downtown business community. And then other things like aligning with other plans, like the Granite Creek Corridor Plan and its wayfinding, looking at a parking analysis. I read a stunning statistic the other day, and I can't rattle off the number, but it was something like we have 2 billion more parking spaces in the United States than we actually have cars. So looking at the efficacy of parking, where parking needs to be, where it could be, where that is not in the way of downtown activities. So those are some of the things that a downtown study might look at. In conjunction with that, we worked with City of Prescott staff, and we were alerted that they applied for and were awarded a Safe Streets for All grant for an area that they're calling the North Dexter Business District. Is that right, Gwen? Thank you. North Dexter Business District, which basically goes north and west from downtown and follows the Gail Gardner corridor and works its way northbound toward Iron Springs Road and the Five Points intersection where the hospital is. So Safe Streets for All, a little background, is a program that the federal government has devised to address the outcome of safety studies, to make progress in attempting to make transportation safer. And it is replete with funding. And we had a deadline come up in August for planning and implementation grants. And because we know that all of the planning applications that have been submitted to this program have been funded and that there's still a lot of funding in that particular pot, we went ahead and put an application together for a Downtown Prescott Smart and Safe Streets initiative, working with Prescott Public Works staff. Oops. Again, here's some of the points that I've already covered. The RTP called for a downtown traffic study. We made a submittal. The request is for 500,000. We are looking to incorporate all those elements that I talked about. Basically, traffic, bicycle, pedestrian, safety, economic development and tourism support, and then parking and wayfinding. The downtown study area is supported by low to moderate income census tracts. That makes our position in the grant review process more favorable. And then again, the study area aligns with the City of Prescott's recently awarded SS4A grant, which would make a nice seamless downtown to northeast study, complete study area. And then of course, the study area does cover the 5 Points intersection, which has been a source of significant stress for hospital employees, and there have been a number of safety incidents there, including injury accidents. So we're hoping to really do a deep analysis on that particular intersection and come up with some good solutions. Did it again, sorry. This is a map of the study area. I apologize, it's not that easy to make out, but you'll see the purple outline really incorporates the downtown area of specific analysis, and then the larger dashed line is the rest of the study area that then abuts up in that northwest corner, sorry, with the SS4A already awarded grant to the City of Prescott. That's the end of that, and I'm available for any questions.
Do you have any questions? No questions.
Thanks, Bryn.
Thank you. You still have me.
For number 9. Right.
I'm moving on. Okay. You want to give us the planning project update?
Thank you. Chairman Brown, members of the board, planning project updates. Pretty quick update on the regional transportation plan. Just wanted to get you familiar with this logo. Our 2050 RTP is called MOVE 2050. It is the Greater Yavapai Regional Transportation Plan. You're going to see social media and public engagement posts going out on this plan. We have adjusted the timing on when we started public engagement for the plan, just based on the CYMPO staff calendar and the Rural Transportation Summit. But we look forward in November to really getting rolling on this plan. And then you are also aware that we're in the middle of the State Route 69 Corridor Master Plan. Kittleson has been meeting with all of the public works teams that are involved in the study area and reviewing some innovative approaches. We've also had the ADOT Northwest District involved in those meetings so that they can see what the Kittleson team is proposing. Additional review and discussion of those improvements is going to continue through the fourth quarter. Basically, there are three options. Do nothing, a typical scenario, which would be adding lanes, signal timing, and other standard approaches that have already been tried, and then some of these innovations. So we're going to be coming to you at the strategic planning retreat with a full download from the technical team to review these innovative approaches and to assess the viability of utilizing some of those through the most congested parts of the corridor. Chairman Brown, this is item 10. I just wanted to acknowledge we're moving.
Yeah. Anything else on 9? No.
Questions on the planning projects?
Move on to number 10.
Thank you. So you'll recall that about a year ago, summer of 23, we actually brought to you a procurement for an environmental needs assessment. There were 3 primary objectives of that assessment. The first was to determine needs and possible uses for carbon reduction funding. You'll recall that through the infrastructure bill, CYMPO is getting awarded about $180,000 annually to work towards carbon reduction. Our first project, we were proud to partner with the county and the city of Prescott on the Pioneer Parkway Trailhead. So that is one of the uses that carbon reduction funding can be applied to. But we wanted to work with our consultant team at Burgess and Nyepel to determine other potential uses for that going forward. Another aspect of that, an objective of that study was to review and analyze the EMAC, the Ecosystem Mitigation Advisory Committee, to basically assess the membership, the capacity to make grant applications, because the technical staff that comes from Forest Service and Game and Fish are pretty limited in what they can, the time that they can offer that group. And then just how to increase the effectiveness and the output from that group. And then the third priority in that environmental needs assessment was to determine regional conservation priorities, to basically look at a broader conservation dialogue. And that's basically what we've done with the remainder of that contract. So what you're looking at today is a possible action to approve modification of the environmental needs assessment contract. And it's an adjustment to the scope of work that would include 2 public listening sessions. Basically, our consultant team would meet with the public. We would have open invitation in a large public space to hear from the public on what they believe the conservation priorities are for the region. The change to the scope of work totals $13,420. And if you add that to our original contract amount, the total we've committed to this environmental assessment is $88,420. So that is, item 10 is for your consideration to add that adjustment to the scope of work so that we can proceed with the 2 public listening sessions. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? All right, Brent, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Second.
Seconded by Sheena Valley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Discussion and possible action to approve the professional service agreement with Sparklight Media for CYMPO Public Outreach Campaign.
Yes.
The service is anything like it was at my house on Friday.
We'll make a note of
What a nightmare.
Chairman Brown, board members, traditionally we have allocated $50,000 for a safe driving campaign, and we partner with Sparklight to do that. However, as we had been examining It hasn't been necessarily the best way to spend the $50,000. There's not a lot of traction with those videos. So we are going a different route. We're allocating those $50,000 in a different way. We have a proposal here for you guys to review, and it is to target 3 different audiences with 3 specific themes basically. So we have a lot of things going on with Highway 69. So there's an audience for that. We have the regional transportation plan. So there's an audience for that. And then the regional conservation plan that we're starting. So there's an audience for that. So the whole concept of this is we're going to be targeting our citizens, our residents with zip codes. Whoever is in a specific zip code, they'll be getting the ads and pushing our content to them specifically. More importantly, as we kick off the regional transportation plan, it's important for us to get input from our residents. So we really are pushing to do that by utilizing social media. The ask is to tailor this new approach, so this media plan to do that. So it has you have this in your packet. It's detailed of how specifically we're going to be spending the money. One thing to note is the reason we're going with Sparklight is because of our partnership. They're actually donating about $11,000 worth of free advertisement through their Sparklight TV. So it's a win-win, and we're really excited to kick this off. It's a 3-month trial basically to see if this strategy works, and if so, we'll continue with them. If not, we'll look around and see what else we can do to engage the community better. So I'm open for any questions.
So the commercial that the chairman started.
Well, you know, it was didn't see that. The way we put it out was not successful. So even okay.
Was the little kid showing up calling me grandpa?
You know what? It was cute.
Wait, I love that.
But so this is our new this is the new way we're doing it. We have content that we could actually push out as well. So with a commercial like that, we can actually repurpose it and push it out with this new approach. So
Well, the ones that we used with Chris Cucigno back in the day when we first started out, with hands-free driving was the message. So the
Yes.
message can change, and the type of commercial, the scope of it can be very similar.
Yep.
However, it's my understanding that Sparklight is almost the only internet provider left up here. Am I correct?
that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one has gone bust. So
Leslie, you're going to be focusing and targeting this educational material to these zip codes, talking about what regional transportation plan, et cetera, is expected to be able to do, and then be able to include some type of a recommendation that they provide some input,
Yes. So
that you can collect their responses and concerns, and then maybe modify your message so it's a little more effective to what you're trying to accomplish?
That's exactly correct. The approach we're taking is it's a more tailored to the audience that we're trying to attract. Sadly, we have a lot of great things going on, but the community engagement piece has not been there. We get 300, 400 responses for a plan that we spend a lot of money on. So we are making sure that we're utilizing the funds correctly and pushing out the concepts that we're working on in order to be able to get more feedback from the community.
So if you had a zip code that was down in Prescott Valley, that would be mostly talking about plans for improving efficiency on 69, et cetera?
Well, yes. So it would target individuals who would most likely be interested in that type of content. So for example, someone who lives in, and again, we expanded our reach for CYMPO, right? So someone that lives, let's say, in Congress would not necessarily be interested in the Highway 69 plan. So we're being very strategic on the ads because every ad that we put out costs money. So this way we are leveraging our funds better.
And for this proposal for looking at parking and other aspects of transportation impact in the North Dexter area of the city and up and around the Gale Gardner area too. People who live in Yarnell or Wilhoit could probably care less. But if it's focused in that area, then you might collect responses that would really be beneficial in how you want to continue to market the plans in that area.
Exactly. And the way we're doing it actually, we're doing YouTube video ads. We're doing social displays through social media like Facebook and Instagram. In addition, we're doing digital audio as well. So that's more of Spotify, Pandora, Apple Radio. So we're going to be able to attract a larger crowd this way.
Yeah, I think input is particularly important here.
Yes.
Because, just getting grants and then deciding internally what you think the community is going to need or want can be dramatically different from what they really would like to see done.
Right. We make an effort we're working for the people, so we want to make sure that we are hearing them out and understanding their needs. So,
Thank you.
of course.
We could also use this for transit as well.
Of course. And we plan to. The first 3 months, we're going to really focus on these 3 audiences, but that is one of our key objectives for the future, especially now partnering with YRT, combining our marketing efforts with the hub, combining all of that, really pushing out the fact that we have a regional transit system. So.
Well, and I'm sure Searchlight understands that they'd be in the only market in town right now. That doesn't necessarily hold true to the future. So
right.
Hopefully they will accommodate us as much as they have in the past.
Yeah.
Bill? Okay, great.
So I will need a action on this item.
Yeah, we'll make a motion to approve the professional services agreement with Sparklight. Seconded by Mr. Hughes. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, discussion possible action to appoint Vice Chair John Hughes as chair for the November 2024 Executive Board meeting. What I'm passing out here to each of you is my formal resignation as chair. This was predicated by a discussion that took place in the Board of Supervisors some months ago. Sam, I've got your letter here. I'll send it to you. But some months ago, we discussed about this changeover that was going to take place in CYMPO, and Mr. Gregory will be coming to CYMPO as our board appointee. And therefore, if I'm resigning, it has to basically revert to the vice chair. Mr. John Hughes will become the chair of CYMPO beginning tomorrow. So this is effective tomorrow as well. So good luck, John.
Catching on that.
And well, in the vice presidency, basically, they're usually made up by the board decides who's going to be vice president. It doesn't mean just because you're vice president, you're going to, or vice chair, you're going to move up automatically. But that seems the way it floats most of the time, but not all of the time. So, but we welcome Mr. Gregory to this group. He does represent a portion of his district here in our area, and hopefully he will work well with you. So, thank you. Okay, and with that, what, you're not going to accept it?
Got to do it this way.
Give me a break. That's what Tom Thurman always said. Oh, wouldn't take his either. So anyway, all right, make a motion.
Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Vice Chair John Hughes as chair for the November 2024 Executive Board meeting.
Second.
Second by the Mayor Prescott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on. We're going into executive session, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think we'll be coming back to the public, so that basically wraps it up for you all. But We're going to take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and we'll start our executive session.